Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to a special edition Lionside Chat featuring the faculty from Pathway to Success Summer Start from around the university. My name is Dawn Pfeiffer-Wrights, and I am coming to you from Penn State Berks, and I will be your moderator today. We are excited to have a number of special Lionside Chat panelists with us today representing different campuses and programs from the faculty perspective, and I'm going to introduce them to you right now. First, we have Rosemary Martinelli. She comes to us from the Greater Allegheny campus. Then we have Jasper Sachsenmeyer, and Jasper comes to us from Penn State Erie, the Barron College. Next, we have John Champagne, also from Penn State Erie, the Barron College. We also have Griff Lewis. Griff is coming to us from Penn State Scranton. Ryan Hassler joining us from Penn State Berks today. And myself, I am also joining us from Penn State Berks. And even though I am your moderator, I will be potentially commenting and giving some of my experiences being a past faculty member as well. So I'm excited to welcome you all today and to see you. Thank you for joining us. I do have a few questions that I will be sharing with you and calling on you to answer. And of course, if you would like to offer something, you are able to raise your hand or just flag me down and let me know that you'd like to contribute. So welcome to everybody again, and I'm excited to join you on this conversation today. So first, let's get started with what, if any, expectations did you have before you started participating in the PaSSS program? And then did that program and your experience satisfy your expectations? Did the program and your experience meet that? So I'm going to go easy on myself here. I'm going to start with you, Ryan, and go around my Zoom box, and then I'll mix it up a little bit.
Sure. So my expectation, I was hired to run the math academy at Penn State Berks for PaSSS. I guess my expectations are probably going to be somewhat different than most of my colleagues here, being that I was a former high school math teacher. So I have a unique perspective of working with high school students and knowing where they come from a mathematical background, and then teaching 10 years of college mathematics as well. So I think my expectations were met in that I already kind of knew the type of students and what their background was coming into college. But I would say the students far exceed my expectation in terms of their willingness to adapt. I really focus my math academy not just on let me teach you math, because that's not the purpose of what I see the academy as. I see it as let's get you ready to be a successful student in a math classroom at the college level. And so students far exceed my expectations in terms of their willingness, eagerness, and enthusiasm about this transition that they are about to undertake in the fall as they become a college student.
Awesome. Thank you so much. John.
When I started, my knowledge of the program was at a pretty low level, but I did expect that students would need a little extra assistance, specifically in that they may be first-generation students. They may come from a financial background that is not particularly privileged. And that proved to be true. And truthfully, I was really excited to have that expectation confirmed. I am a first-generation college student, and I worked all through school. So I needed whatever help I could get. And at the time, college, of course, was much less expensive. I basically, and I tell my students this, I got to go to school for free. And I think it's a real shame that that isn't available to students, which is one of the reasons why I love teaching in this program, is that we do give students that leg up.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Jasper, what's your response?
Well, when I first started teaching in PaSSS, I expected students to be motivated. To be students who would take initiative and responsibility because they signed up for this program, which is just a tremendously admirable choice. And I've found my expectations have been met. I find PaSSS students to be well motivated. I find them to be eager to learn, to take on the information we have to give them. They're often very aware that college is a transition from high school and that they need to learn new study habits or learn more about what works for them. And every semester or every summer that I've taught in PaSSS, I've been really pleased. And even they've exceeded my expectations, kind of like what Ryan said.
That's great. I love hearing that. How about you, Griff?
We had a program at Scranton a couple of years before PaSSS started called Summer Bridge. And It worked the same way. Students started in the summer prior to their fall semester to get, acclimated to college, as well as get any pre-math, English, and technical skills that they would need to succeed on campus. Those programs were successful, and I expected the same for PaSS. I was correct. The students have done really well. Those who were in our PaSS program have gone on and received awards on campus. So it's been a marvelous program for us.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And Rosemary, can you finish up that question for us, please? Rosemary, you need to unmute, please.
Sorry about that. And to
okay.
think I'd be teaching speech as well. There you go. But anyway, so I get one strike for that. I'm not sure what else I could add, except because I do agree with everyone. But I would like to add that one of the things that I noticed as well, too, was a real caring and a real respect that each of the PaSS students had for each other. They were willing to help each other, whether they were in a face-to-face or in a virtual environment, because I go back several years to when we had all on-ground education in the summertime. So I really found that to be wonderful. They were helping each other. And even last year, I found them making friends, even through a virtual environment when they weren't all together. So I think there's a camaraderie that exists with the PaSS students. And I enjoy that. It sort of brings me into the loop with them as well. And then I've enjoyed seeing several years later down the road where the PaSS students are within their studies and within their degrees. So it's a rewarding experience, and I think a learning experience for me as well.
That's great. One of the recruitment pieces we did just recently was with some PaSS alumni that went through the Berks program over the last couple of summers. And it was a wonderful opportunity to hear them debrief their experience and then how their experience has been impactful to them. Excellent. I'm going to move on to my next question. And Griff, I'm going to start with you. Can you talk to us about how are PaSS summer courses different from the courses in the fall and spring? Or are they different?
I think that PaSS involves far more than just going to summer courses. Students have the opportunity to work very closely with their instructors and their peers. Plus, we also have sessions that are scheduled usually over the lunchtime hour with the different student services available on campus. So our PaSS students meet with career counselors. They meet different representatives from departments for exploration of majors. They go over technical information, like how best to use the tools that Penn State has. So it's way more than just the summer courses themselves.
All right, that's great. Thank you. How about you, Rosemary?
What we do when we teach in PaSS is I always collaborate with my colleague. We have two courses that are always offered. One year it might be art. Last year it was something in IS&T. This year it's going to be in biobehavioral health. So one of the things that we're doing is we're actually comparing our syllabi and actually having some interdisciplinary and cross-pollinated course assignments that will allow the students to get into more breadth and depth of what they might be doing if they were in a regular semester course. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't collaborate in other semesters, we do, but I think for the PaSS students, it's their first time to see themselves outside of the normal experience where they might go to a class, they might have this class, and then they move in maybe individual silos. This is something where I think the interdisciplinary work and the ability to see that what you do in one course has a definite impact on what you're doing elsewhere, and to get the students to think critically about how they can see all their studies in a cross-pollinated form even after they finish with the summer session.
I love that. That's something that I'm instituting a little bit more specifically on campus with our English 15 faculty this summer. So we should talk about that a little bit more. John, do you have anything to offer for that, please?
Well, on the one hand, the pace is faster, clearly, because it's a summer course. On the other hand, we have more time to do more intensive work because we are meeting 4 days a week. And I think that balance works really well. It does mean that, for example, despite the fast paced, sometimes I can have them do work in class and go around and work with them individually. And that's really a great opportunity. So I think it all balances out in the end.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. How about you, Jasper?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's kind of mentioned an aspect of PaSS that I think is really nice. One thing I personally really enjoy is, like John said, it's more condensed, right, to fit into that shortened summer semester schedule. But for instance, my American Studies 100 course, I think that actually helps students make connections across time sometimes, whereas something we learn in September, they may not remember it very well by the time we get to November. And even though there is a really interesting connection between those two topics, whereas when you're only separated by a week or two or three, that information sometimes a lot more present for the students. And it can lead to some really, really cool connections and realizations and comparisons, which I just, that's so much fun to see as an instructor.
That is, I appreciate hearing that. Thank you. Ryan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I would just add that I really, it's a little bit of a different role because it's not an actual credited course in the academy, the math academy. So I have a little bit more flexibility. I don't particularly teach mathematics, although we do review some things, and I try to get students to understand, comprehend, as opposed to high school memorization type of thing. But I really teach students how to be a critical thinker, and how to be an effective mathematics student, but a college student, right? So I'll talk to them about how they make their notes, and what does not taking notes, but making notes, things that you're gonna actually use in the classroom. So I can put some of those maybe metacognition skills into the course. So I really enjoy that I just don't have time to do when I have to deliver a credited class during the semester. And I'll just end with what everybody else said in terms of the cross-disciplinary students. It's probably not a lie here that most students come to college with a negative perception of mathematics. Even some of the engineers aren't very happy to be in their mathematics classes. But when I can show them that mathematics is a tool, when I can show them the cool things that we're using to, using mathematics to model the human body, to show how human movement can get represented as a mathematical equation, and to show them, different places where they can apply that knowledge, I start to see some, peaks of their interest, things that you don't particularly think you would see in a mathematics classroom sometimes. So I really enjoy that aspect of helping students realize that mathematics is not just something that they have to do, but something that can be a very useful tool, and can set them up for whatever discipline they're going into.
That's awesome. And I love hearing all of the different aspects that you've all presented for that question. And the one thing that I'd like to add from my perspective also is that it is a 3-credit course that we will typically deliver over 15-week semester. We're not changing the content. We're just condensing it and putting it smaller. So you are getting a college class and all that's involved with it. And you are also then responsible for all of the things that come along with that. And I think the fact that we can have the Math Academy and some of these other areas of support really sets our students up for success from that process. So I appreciate all of what you said. Moving in a different direction here with our next question. There are several benefits for students participating in PaSSS. Which of these benefits do you think is most important for our students? And I'm going to start with you, Rosemary. Rosemary, you're muted.
I'm doing it again. Okay. I hope there's a student watching this who said, boy, she forgot to turn on her mic twice. I never do that, but there's a reason for that. There's a learning curve here. No, seriously, there's so many benefits. I'm not sure I could select one out over the other. But I think that here's how I look at it. If the student walks away knowing something that they didn't know when they walked into the program, and Ryan's point about teaching math to engineers, it would be the same thing as if I had engineering students in the speech class. In CAS 100 effective speech, and they would turn to me and they would say, I want to be an engineer, so I really don't need to do speeches. I really don't know to write this. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute, let's backtrack here. Let's find the value of what you have in this particular course and how you're going to use that down the road. And ask anyone who's an engineer, they'll say the same thing. I never thought I was going to have to write for a living or have to present for a living, and it all comes back to them as well. So I think one of the most benefits that I like to incorporate and into class, and also to reflect upon, is that the students, is that this is real life, and that you don't have to be an orator, you may not ever have to give a major speech, but you do have to present, and you do need to know how to have interpersonal communications with others. And so the value of their ability to feel more comfortable, whether it in a virtual space, whether in a face-to-face space, whether in sitting beside each other, is really critically important. So I think the biggest benefit of that is to make sure that they see that it isn't just a course, that it's a skill, and that these skills are something that are really life-altering and life-changing and can benefit them in any path they take.
That's excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that. Jasper, how about you?
Well, yeah, like Rosemary said, there's a lot of things we could pick out. I think one of the key strengths of the PaSS program is that it gives students an environment to help acclimate to university and university studies. I don't want to speak for my colleagues here, but I'm sure we could all share stories about our first semesters in undergrad. And I know for me personally, that was not my most successful semester. You know, that there is a change. You do have to get used to it, right? And I think by the PaSS program is a wonderful opportunity to give students an environment to make that change, wherein they have more support. You know, there's more of a structure. There are instructors and advisors and people who are very much aware that these students are undergoing this transition and are there to help them. And I think that leads to long-term success. I find the PaSS students that cycle back through my courses later on in their university careers, they tend to be more confident. As I've said, they seem to be more responsible, take the initiative. They're not quite as flustered as other first or second semester students may be. And I think that's really a testament to the success of the PaSS program.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you so much. Ryan, do you have anything to share for that?
Just real simple, that I really enjoy that this is a program where students can realize real quickly that they have to empower themselves. They are empowered and they have to make decisions. Education is now up to them, and they own their education. And I love helping students realize that. What do you mean? I can take this course or this course, and I'm responsible for this, and I don't have to go here if I don't want to do. So just that idea of that, you know, that it is a transition, but more importantly, it's that they are now responsible. It's the biggest thing that I can say, because I see, as Jasper said, many students that don't go through a program like this, their first and second semesters are rough, and they don't realize that sometimes until it's too late. So if you make mistakes and you want an environment to, you know, really become acclimated, a program such as PaSSS is one of the best things that you could do.
Thank you. John, how about you?
You know, people come to college today for a variety of different reasons and with a variety of different levels of commitment. And one of the really wonderful things about the PaSSS program is that we all want to be there, right? We have given up our summers to do this, and to learn in that kind of environment is just so rich. I know that it changes how I teach, right? I don't have to have my defenses up, for one thing. I don't have to think, there's some people who really don't want to be here. I just have to plow through it anyway. There are people who are not going to want me to call on them. I just have to plow through it anyway. The environment and the tenor is just so different. And it makes me walk in the room looking at my students as fellow learners, rather than as, frankly, children that I have to police to a certain degree. Most of us didn't want to be police people, right? We would have chosen that profession if that's what we wanted to do. And it's so wonderful to be in a classroom where I can do what I feel I do best and hopefully bring out of them the best of their abilities to learn and interact.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. And Griff, do you want to finish off on this particular question?
I have to echo what Jasper said. I wish that there was such a program in existence when I was an undergraduate all those years ago, because my first semester as a freshman wasn't that great. I had no idea what to expect. Our PaSS students do. They get to know the college experience without just being tossed into the deep end, if you will. They get to work closely with their instructors. They get to work with campus support staff in an unthreatening way. And I think that's what leads to our PaSS students' success. It's been a wonderful thing to watch. And again, I wish it was around when I was an undergrad.
I appreciate that. I actually have a list of things that I wish that I had access to when I was an undergrad, and it gets longer every year. Excellent, thank you. John, I'm going to start with you for this next question. Has your participation in the PaSS program impacted your connection with your former PaSS students?
Oh, absolutely. And there's something really wonderful about our campuses. Many of our campuses are small enough, right, that we will have students again in class, or we'll run into students, and having a student stop you and say, this really set the tone for the rest of my education. I feel as if I've really succeeded because of that work we've done. That's a really meaningful thing, I think, for both of us. And in fact, just this, I haven't been on campus very much this semester. I dropped in one day and I ran into a student who said, I've got a scholarship to go to graduate school, and my roommate is also graduating with a job. And it was so great, really great to see that success.
That's nice. That must feel really good too, especially for that one day that you're on campus. You have that vibe coming out. Rosemary, unmute yourself and answer the.
I know. It's my brand new computer, so I'm sitting here going, okay, where's the key this time? For me, I have to. Everybody else is right on the right side. I'm moving to the left for mine. It's interesting when you talk about our campus sizes and a larger campus or a smaller campus, and we're a smaller campus at Greater Allegheny. And so we have a tendency to see students a lot in a variety of different capacities. And I think that the participation of those who were in PaSS has been one where I've seen them again. I've seen them, I'm the advisor, I teach journalism, so I'm the advisor of the campus newspaper. So I see them volunteer or come back and say, hey, can I get involved in this? Or I've seen them come back and say, hey, can we start this particular organization? Could you be an advisor to us? How do we get a speech club started on campus? So we were investigating into that and looking at Toastmaster chapter for students, et cetera. But then there's some who I just had this past semester. We did some mock job interviews. And so they had been in PaSS several years ago. So it was sort of like coming full circle. So in much the same way as to what you said too as well, John, it's just a wonderful, rewarding experience. And then I've actually even met their parents. For some of them, I was in a parking lot one day and I was walking to the car and a student was waving at me and she said, I come here, I wanted you to meet my mom. And I said, oh, great. And I said, hello. And I introduced myself. She said, she just loved the class. And I thought, they can't pay me for that. I mean, that's really extremely rewarding. And I said, well, thank you for sharing that. And I said, thank you for, having your daughter come to school here. I said, it was a pleasure to have her and it was good to meet her. So it's sometimes the non-book related educational connection that I think really lives on for a long, long time.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And that's part of the reason why I love teaching. So Jasper.
I think we've all kind of touched upon how the students, what it's like bumping into PaSS students after the program. But to reiterate that, it's a wonderful experience. You already know them. You've gotten to work so closely with them. I know the summer semester is condensed, but it's so much more intensive. So I feel those students, you recognize them, you know them, they know you. And it's so easy to strike up a conversation, see how they're doing. And I know in past years, those students have gone on to be very, very successful throughout university and beyond. So yeah, that's super rewarding.
That's great. I really appreciate that. Ryan?
Maybe not specifically to PaSS, but in general, any program again like this, since I do run the engineering ahead at Berks as well, I can speak on that. But anytime you have the ability to create a closer relationship with somebody that can help you network for future scholarships, future jobs, I mean, that is what I really take out of this. You know, I create relationships with these students, and dare I even say, because it's true, lifelong friendships. I mean, I love getting, you know, emails 2 years after they graduate. Hey, Dr. Hassler, just checking up. This is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. If you need anything, give me a call. Well, they'll come back and they'll talk to my students, right? So, I mean, these relationships, these lifelong friendships, and just a network to, and getting these students at this beginning stage to realize that, again, they're empowered to take on their own education and create that network is really what I've found to be beneficial.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And Griff, I'm sure that you agree with everybody, but is there one nugget that you wanted to add to this part of the conversation?
Well, you know, I'm not actually an instructor in PaSS. I just do the Tech Academy. And we've had the PaSS students, some of our PaSS students work for our IT department. And to have a student teaching other students things that I taught them, it's awesome. I mean, it was just like, all right, that's great. And that skill helps them translate into the job market too.
That's awesome. And I use the peer mentors that we get through PaSS in my regular semester classes. And there's nothing like seeing a student teach what you taught them to somebody else. So yeah, that's fantastic. Great. Thank you so much. All right, Jasper, you're up to start us off here. What is your favorite memory of teaching in the PaSS program?
That's a tough question. Well, you asked me at this particular moment, so the answer I'll give in this particular moment was at the end of American Studies last summer, you know, chaotic, hectic, awful summer that we all somehow survived, thankfully. I had a student who really hadn't participated much all semester, write an incredible final paper on the Puerto Rican independence movement in the 1950s, something which I had been completely unaware of up until that point. You know, I taught American Studies several times and just had no idea exactly what this movement was, the depths of how it impacted Puerto Rican culture, the American government response, which was not positive, of course. And for me, when you can learn something while teaching is probably one of the best feelings ever. And so, yeah, that paper it opened my eyes to something and certainly impacts the way I teach American Studies now. Absolutely.
Nice. That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Griff, how about you?
Well, because last summer was, as Jasper mentioned, so chaotic, I had the opportunity to help a lot of our PaSS students get connected to their classes with the technology, and to be able to help students who are frustrated and you know, perhaps nervous and afraid because they're coming into a new situation, to get them into their classes and then have them say, thank you, I really appreciate that. Now that I can get into my classes and interact with my peers, and then to have them work for us and have the opportunity to sort of mentor, if you will, and then see one of our PaSS students go on and win student awards. Those are my favorite memories.
Thanks. I love hearing that. Ryan, how about you?
I wouldn't say I have a single favorite memory, but I guess I would mention some people call them the aha moments, especially from the math end, when a student realizes that they've thought of something this way their entire life because they, you know, were a product of the public education system, and this is how they were taught and, you know, forced to learn this math this way, and they realize that, oh my gosh, this is something different, or this is something I haven't explored. Just the looks on their faces and those aha moments when they, you know, something triggers this light bulb. I mean, that's of course my response for any of my classes when I see that, but it happens a lot during the PaSS program. So that would be my favorite memory.
Okay, great, thank you. John, your favorite?
I had teachers who whom I knew cared deeply about my personal and intellectual success. And I never knew whether I was making that kind of impact on my own students. And of course, I always hope I did. The very first time I taught PaSS, the last day of class, the students asked if we could take a group photo. Now, I know that sounds sort of silly, but as Rosemary was saying, the sense of camaraderie that this program makes possible, and students taking it upon themselves to get to know each other, to work together, to help each other. To me, that was a really lovely moment of the students saying, this was special, and I want to remember it by having this picture of all of us together.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Rosemary.
Well, like everyone, I have multiple thoughts going through my mind for that question. And there's been great moments, even in the summer of 2020, as chaotic as it was, there were still really great moments in the virtual environment where, students, when they were doing sales presentations, they would dress the part. If they were selling a fishing product, they dressed in fishing garb and stood on their back porch and did their presentation like a television infomercial. So they had great opportunities for fun and creativity. But I remember, if I have to pick something, I'll just pick one out. I do remember 2 years ago when we had our final presentation, which was, again, I had them do a persuasive speech and said, if you want to sell a product, let's have you do this, et cetera. And so I said, if you want to bring somebody in for moral support for the presentation, you can. So if you want to have a friend come in and we built an audience and we moved the venue from a classroom to a really big events hall. I was amazed. There were people who brought their parents, their grandparents, their work study supervisor from campus, their boss from off campus. And it was this, we had a 3-hour pedagogical, focus on these presentations. And it was just a wonderful environment. And people were applauding everybody and cheering everybody on. And I'm like, that's what this is all about. And at the very end, everybody felt less anxious. They felt less, nervous about what they were doing. And they felt comfortable in engaging and giving everybody good feedback. And one of the grandparents came up to me afterwards and says, I'm just so proud. This was a great experience. I've never been, she had never been through anything like this, to see a lot of students give a presentation. It really was, I think, memorable for me. And I would like to get back to doing that on ground on campus again. So
I hope that opportunity presents itself this summer. I have to officially share my favorite memory from teaching in PaSSS, and it happened last summer as well. I was teaching from my bedroom, which many of us were doing, and it was 4 days a week. I think we were in class for 75 or 90 minutes a day. And the one day I was doing my delivery boot camp, where I'm showing students the elements of physical delivery with eye contact and movement and gestures. And I'm showing them this from my bedroom as best as I possibly can in this Zoom box. And I was trying to demonstrate my feet and my feet placement and how to stand and to do some movement. And I was so into what I was doing. I actually picked up my laptop, I set it on the floor, and I showed them just my feet doing the thing. And then I put it back up and we were done. And I didn't realize until at the end of the semester or the summer, I have them do a little survey of just some pieces of information about what they learned. And somebody commented that they learned so much from Professor Dawn putting her laptop on the floor of her bedroom in her bare feet, showing us how to use the stance in public speaking. So that was just a funny thing. And that young lady still comments about that today. I had no idea I had no shoes on, but that's what we were doing in those times. So that's my really funny story. Thanks for indulging me here. So I'm going to shoot out one final question, sort of our final parting thought for all of you. And I'll start with Ryan, John, Jasper, Griff, and then Rosemary. Why is PaSSS a good thing for instructors? So if you're thinking about teaching in PaSSS one year, if you're not sure, this is where we're going to point people to. What is your answer to that? Why should you teach in PaSSS? Ryan?
I might steal John's thunder because I heard him say it earlier. Sorry, John, but it really gives you a restart. It gives you a love for teaching. It gives you that the reason we go in and we are here to help these students is because of this program. It really gets me started for the fall semester. I've just taught fall and spring, and I want to have that summer off, and I take the first couple weeks off, and then when I'm ready to go, it just is such a great light to start the next educational season off with, and the students are just amazing. So I don't want to steal too much of your thunder, John, but I love that you said that, because it absolutely was correct. That it rejuvenates you. It's really so rewarding.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. John, do you have anything to add to Ryan's comments that he took?
Well, again, walking into a classroom where everybody wants to be there, and it means that you hit the ground running. Right? You are able to begin the learning immediately, and you interact with your students the way that you should, right? As if they are adults who've come to you to get help from you. My model always of teaching is a coach, right? I try to tell my students that I'm not delivering information. I'm helping you to do better what you already do. But you have to be open to that, and you have to yourself have that attitude. And so that's what's so great, is that being in the room with people who really want to learn there's nothing like it. It really isn't.
Appreciate that. Jasper.
I mean, yeah, Ryan and John have put it really, really well. Why wouldn't you want to teach in PaSS? Students want to be there. I know for me personally, it's refreshing to look at these students. There's an opportunity to really get down to brass tacks. Say, here are the things you're going to need to be successful, and you can kind of cut through some of that red tape. But yeah, motivated, incredible students. What more do you need?
No, that's perfect. Griff?
Well, the students want to be there, and I'm going to echo what John said earlier that struck me. We didn't become teachers to police. We want to help students, and here is a group of motivated students who want that, who have that hunger to learn, and then they have the opportunity to work with all these professionals, our faculty, our staff, and I think that's what leads to their success. Plus, they get to work, and like I said, we've had the students working in our department. They've all been marvelous. Ask them to do, can you help this? Absolutely, Mr. Lewis, I'm on it, So to me, teaching in this program is a no-brainer, and I look forward to it every year when they say, Griff, you're going to do the Tech Academy, right? Yeah, and yes.
That's awesome. And Rosemary?
It is life-changing. It's life-changing for the students, and I believe it's been life-changing for me as well, and probably for all of us. I think we would all agree. We start out with these group of students coming from all different geographic areas, different demographics, all different backgrounds, and yet when they're finished, they all leave and go on to obviously the rest of their studies, but they're not the same as when they came in. There's just something that's a little bit different, and I think and that skill, that thought, that ability to move on to the next thing and down the road in their future. And I think that's the same thing for us. We're just never the same come the end of August when we start the fall. And I think that's because we've learned a little bit from those students who came to spend the summer with us in PaSS.
I love that. And my answer to that would be, I love getting these balls of clay, right? These fresh out of high school balls of clay that we get to have just that moment or two over these 5-6 weeks of time to sort of mold them into what they should be as really excellent learners in our community and parts of our community. And all of us, the 6 of us, and the others that teach in the PaSS program, get these awesome opportunities to just mold them just a little bit in that way. So I'm really thankful for that. So I'm gonna pull my slide back up here, And I am going to just say thank you to all of you once again. Rosemary Martinelli, Jasper, I want to say it correctly, Sachsenmeyer, and John Champagne, Griff Lewis, Ryan Hassler, and I am Dawn Pfeiffer Wrights. And we all have had a wonderful experience talking with you today. And if anybody is interested in having more information about the PaSS program, you can reach out to this website. And if you have any questions, you are all welcome to contact us. And I thank all of you for your time today and for being a willing participant in this special Lionside chat. So until next time, signing off. This has been Penn State Berks Lionside Chats, our special PaSS faculty edition. Thank you all. Bye-bye.